After 10 years of ignoring me, my family showed up at my mansion begging for money. Jake's wife said, "You got lucky with some construction contracts. The least you could do is help the family that raised you." I started laughing, not polite chuckling either. Deep, genuine laughter that echoed off my custom stone fireplace and made everyone in my living room shift uncomfortably in their leather chairs. The audacity was so breathtaking that I couldn't help myself. Here they were, 7 people who'd treated me like a family embarrassment for a decade, sitting in my $1 million house telling me I owed them something because I got lucky. I wiped my eyes and looked at Jake's new wife, this blonde named Brittany, who'd just delivered that little speech with the confidence of someone who clearly had no idea what she'd walked into. "You're exactly what I expected," I told her. Jake always had a type, pretty, entitled, and completely unaware of how the real world works. The silence that followed was deafening. My grandmother Patricia, who'd spent years telling people I was embarrassing the family, looked like she'd swallowed her dentures. My Aunt Monica and Uncle Steve, who'd treated my construction work like a cute hobby, were suddenly very interested in studying their coffee cups. My cousins Tyler and Brandon, who'd made jokes about me being the family muscle for hire, weren't laughing anymore. But I wasn't done. This moment had been building for years, and now that it was here, I was going to savor every second of it. These people had no idea what they just walked into, and I was about to give them an education they'd never forget. See, what they didn't understand was that I'd been preparing for this conversation for the past 5 years. Not consciously maybe, but every strategic decision I'd made, every relationship I'd built, every dollar I'd earned had positioned me for exactly this moment. They thought they were dealing with the same Derek who desperately wanted their approval 20 years ago. They were about to discover how wrong they were. The thing about being written off by your family is that it forces you to become completely self-reliant. While they were all playing their little suburban games, comparing salaries and lease payments, I was building something real. Blackstone Construction wasn't just a business anymore. It was an empire, and empires don't get built by accident or luck. Let me paint you the picture of what lucky actually looked like. By 2018, when the Austin real estate boom hit hard, I wasn't just another contractor scrambling for work. I was the guy with a 5-year waiting list, the one charging premium prices because clients knew Blackstone Construction delivered results that lasted generations. My client roster read like a who's who of Austin's tech millionaires, oil executives, and entertainment industry power players. The numbers they couldn't see were staggering. My business account currently held $3 million in liquid assets. That was just checking, not including the $8 million investment portfolio, the $2 million in equipment and property, or the $4 million this house was worth. My personal net worth had crossed $15 million 18 months ago, and I was on track to hit $20 million by year end. But the real advantage wasn't just money. It was position. Over 15 years, I'd built relationships with every major supplier, subcontractor, and permit office in Central Texas. I had city council members on speed dial, bank presidents who trusted my word over most people's contracts, and a network of craftsmen who'd follow me into hell because I'd always treated them with respect and paid them what they were worth. My crew wasn't just employees, they were profit partners. My foreman, Miguel, owned a $400,000 house because I'd helped him get the loan when banks wouldn't look twice at a guy with his background. My electrical contractor had expanded into 3 cities using startup capital I'd provided. My concrete specialist daughter was going to UT on a scholarship I'd quietly funded. These weren't charity cases. They were investments in people who'd proven their worth, and now they were all personally invested in my success. The strategic implications were massive. While families like mine measured success in job titles and credit scores, I'd built a commercial ecosystem. I could mobilize millions in resources with a phone call, had legal teams on retainer who specialized in everything from contract disputes to estate planning, and maintained relationships with private investigators, forensic accountants, and business analysts who could dissect someone's financial life down to their coffee purchases. They thought they were dealing with Derek the construction worker. They were actually dealing with Derek the business mogul who just happened to build things with his hands. But here's what really positioned me for victory in this moment. I'd been documenting everything for years, not out of paranoia, but out of thoroughness. Every family slight, every condescending comment, every time they'd excluded me from gatherings or treated my achievements like hobbies. My business training had taught me that documentation was power, and I'd applied that principle to my personal life without even realizing it. I had photos from Jake's wedding, where I had been seated with strangers while his college buddies got the family table. I had the email chain from grandmother Patricia's surgery, where Monica had literally told hospital staff I was distant family who should wait to visit. I had bank records showing the $15,000 check I'd left to help with medical bills, which had been cashed but never acknowledged. The psychological advantage was equally significant. They'd come here expecting to deal with someone who still desperately wanted their approval, someone they could guilt and manipulate using family obligation. Instead, they were facing a man who'd spent a decade building genuine relationships based on mutual respect and shared success. I didn't need their validation anymore because I had something better, the respect of people whose opinions actually mattered. While they'd been playing suburban status games, I'd been learning how real power worked. Not the borrowed power of job titles and mortgage payments, but the actual power that comes from controlling resources, creating value, and building systems that generate wealth rather than consuming it. As I looked at their faces around my living room, I could see them starting to understand that this wasn't going to go the way they'd planned. The house itself was delivering that message loud and clear. Custom millwork that cost more than most people's annual salaries, Italian marble floors with radiant heating, windows that provided panoramic views of my private lake and the hill country beyond. This wasn't a lucky break. This was the result of systematic excellence applied over 15 years. Now, it was time to help them understand exactly what they'd lost when they decided I wasn't worth their time or respect. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Brittany, since you brought up the topic of luck and family obligation, let me show you what 15 years of hard work actually looks like. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. This is my business checking account. Current balance $3. Whoa, million. That's just what I keep liquid for immediate expenses and opportunities. Their eyes went wide staring at the screen. Jake's face went pale. Even Brittany, who'd been so confident about my obligation to help family, seemed to lose some of her swagger. The house you're sitting in that cost $2, the highest million to build. I paid cash. The workshop has $300,000 worth of professional equipment. The trucks outside? The dually cost $95,000. The vintage restoration, another $60,000. And that's just the toys. Want to see the investment portfolio? I switched apps. Real estate holdings worth $4. $. Takes million. Stock portfolio currently valued at $8. And million retirement accounts maxed out for the past decade. Last year, Blackstone Construction generated $12. Million in revenue, and I personally netted $2. Million after taxes. The silence was thick enough to cut. They'd known I was successful, but seeing the actual numbers was overwhelming them. These weren't lucky breaks. These were the results of strategic thinking applied consistently over time. So, when you say I got lucky, Brittany, what you really mean is that I worked 60-hour weeks for 15 years, built a reputation for quality that commands premium prices, made careful financial decisions instead of buying things I couldn't afford, and treated people with respect so they'd want to work with me again. But sure, let's call it luck. Uncle Steve cleared his throat, trying to regain some momentum. Derek, we're not here to argue about the past. Jake's going through some financial difficulties with his divorce settlement, and we thought maybe family could help family. I laughed again. Family helps family? That's interesting. Let me tell you about the last time family helped family in this house. I stood up and walked to the window overlooking my property. 3 months ago, when the floods hit East Texas, I took 6 of my crew and 4 trucks to help with cleanup and repairs. We worked for free for 2 weeks, helping families rebuild their homes, covered all expenses, fuel, equipment, meals, hotel rooms, helped over 50 families get back on their feet. I turned back to face them. Those people thanked me with tears in their eyes. They invited me to their kids' graduations. They send me Christmas cards. They're my family now, the family I chose, because when someone needed help, We showed up without being asked and without expecting anything in return. That's what family looks like. Jake finally found his voice. Derek, I know we haven't been as close as we should have been. Close? I interrupted. Jake, when was the last time you called me? When was the last time any of you sent a birthday card, or a Christmas text, or even acknowledged my existence unless you needed something? I'll tell you when. Never. Not once in 8 years. I walked back to my chair but remained standing. You want to talk about family obligation? Fine. Let's talk about it. When I started Blackstone Construction, I called Dad to share the news about my first major contract. $380,000 job. Biggest thing I'd ever landed. You know what he said? That's nice, son. Jake just got promoted to senior accountant. When I bought this land and started building, I sent Mom pictures because I was proud of what I'd accomplished. She showed them to her friends and told them I was still playing with tools. Grandmother Patricia was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Derek, we made mistakes. Mistakes? I sat down and leaned forward. Grandmother, you told people you were embarrassed to have a grandson who worked with his hands like a common laborer. Monica told her neighbors I was the family failure who'd never amount to anything. Jake didn't even invite me to his first wedding. When you had heart surgery 5 years ago, I drove 4 hours with flowers and a check to help with medical bills. Monica here told the hospital staff I was distant family, who should wait until after the immediate family visited. I left a $15,000 check to help with expenses. Did you even know about that? Grandmother Patricia's face went white. Monica looked like she wanted to disappear into the couch cushions. So no, we haven't been close. You cut me out completely. And now that you discovered I'm more successful than all of you combined, suddenly you want to be family again. That's not family, that's a transaction. Brittany, who had been quiet since her earlier outburst, decided to double down. Look, Derek, I don't care about ancient history. Jake needs help now, and you clearly have more money than you know what to do with. Family is supposed to take care of each other. I stared at her for a long moment. Brittany, what do you do for work? I'm a social media influencer, she replied, chin up defiantly. How many followers? 12,000 on Instagram, 8,000 on TikTok. And how much income does that generate monthly? Her confidence wavered. Well, it's building up. So nothing. You make nothing. I turned to Jake. Brother, you divorced a gold digger and married another one. That's either really bad luck or consistently poor judgment. Jake's face flushed red. Don't talk to my wife that way. Your wife just told me I should give you my money because family takes care of family, while admitting she doesn't know or care about our history. She called my success luck and claimed I didn't earn it myself. And I'm the bad guy for pointing out she's a social media influencer with no income telling me how to spend my money? I pulled out my phone again. You know what? Let me show you what you really lost when you decided I wasn't worth your time. I scrolled through my photos. This is the children's hospital wing I funded last year. Cost me $800,000, but it's named after our great-grandfather, the one who worked construction his whole life to feed his family. Remember him? The one Grandmother Patricia used to be proud of before she decided manual labor was embarrassing? Their faces went pale as the implications hit them. I continued scrolling. This is the scholarship fund I established at Austin Community College. $50,000 annually for kids who want to learn trades instead of going into debt at 4-year schools. And this is the homeless shelter I helped build and furnish. Donated all labor and materials, about $200,000 worth. Aunt Monica was crying now. Derek, we didn't know. You didn't know because you never asked. You were too busy looking down on me to notice what I was actually accomplishing. I put my phone away. But here's the thing. I didn't do those things for recognition or to prove anything to you. I did them because it was the right thing to do. Brandon, who'd been quiet through most of this, finally spoke up. Derek, is there any way we can make this right? I know we messed up, but family should mean something. I studied his face. Out of all of them, he seemed to genuinely understand the magnitude of what they'd done. Brandon, family does mean something. It means being there for each other through good times and bad. It means celebrating successes without jealousy. It means having each other's backs when the world tries to tear you down. Tell me, when did any of you ever do that for me? He couldn't answer because the answer was never. You want to know what family means to me now? My foreman Miguel's daughter is graduating valedictorian next month. I'm flying the whole crew to watch her speech because we all helped pay for her tutoring when she was struggling in middle school. My concrete contractor's son needed surgery last year, and I covered the bills without being asked because that's what family does. My electrical team leader wanted to start his own company, so I co-signed his business loan and sent him referrals for his first 6 months. I stood up and walked to the front door, opening it wide. Those people have my back because I've had theirs. We choose to be family every single day through our actions, not our DNA. That's what real family looks like. As they filed past me toward the door, each looking defeated and ashamed, Jake stopped and turned back. "Derek, I know I don't deserve it, but if you ever change your mind about giving us another chance." I looked at my brother, really looked at him. The golden boy who'd had everything handed to him and squandered it through poor decisions and worse taste in partners. "Jake, you want another chance? Here's what that looks like. You figure out your financial situation without asking anyone for money. You prove you can stand on your own feet. And most importantly, you learn to treat people with respect instead of seeing them as either useful or disposable." He nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. "And if you do all that, maybe we can have a conversation about being brothers. But not until then." As their taillights disappeared down my private road, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Complete freedom from the weight of their expectations. My phone buzzed with a text from Miguel. "Boss, poker game tonight at Carlos's place. You in?" I smiled and typed back. "Absolutely. Family dinner, right?" "You know it, boss. Maria's making enchiladas." I locked the door and walked back to my workshop, where a 1967 Mustang was waiting for my attention. Some things are worth restoring, and some things are better left in the past. After 10 years, I'd finally learned the difference. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd come looking for a handout from their lucky relative, and instead got a masterclass in what actual success looked like. Jake spent the next few months struggling to rebuild his finances without family help, eventually taking a second job to make ends meet. Brittany left him within 4 months when she realized there was no easy money coming, moving back in with her parents while claiming she needed to focus on her brand. Uncle Steve and Aunt Monica returned to their suburban bubble, finally understanding that the family disappointment had become the success story they'd never get to claim. Tyler and Brandon both reached out individually over the following year, with Tyler eventually earning a genuine reconciliation after proving he could treat people with respect. Grandmother Patricia spent her remaining years telling anyone who'd listen about her successful grandson, though she never got another chance to tell me directly. But that was their problem to solve. I had a Mustang to restore and a real family poker game to attend. Some lessons you can only learn the hard way, and theirs was just beginning.